Hello, making a video in the afternoon, and I want to talk about honesty, the importance of honesty. Honesty is so important that it is a matter of paradise versus Armageddon. That's how important it actually is. I don't know how long I make this video. But I want to talk about the importance of honesty. When I was a teenager, I was always striving to be honest, particularly honest to myself in terms of emotions and what's real and what's unreal. But I wasn't very aware about that subject. I had never looked into philosophy yet, never been really exposed to that yet. In my high school, we were somewhat exposed to anthroposophy because I went to a Rudolf Steiner school. But even there, we were not educated enough about philosophy, about Steiner's philosophy, about Jiddu Krishnamurti's philosophy, the Buddha's philosophy. We were not really, and I think anthroposophy and Buddhism, again, people made it into a dualistic front, which is sad. They have so much in common. Why don't we look at the things that are helping society and then teaching all of this and looking into all of this instead of making it two camps again and saying, oh, one camp against the other, and let's get as many followers and turn people against the other camp, and the other camp does the same. That is such ridiculous, typically human behavior. And that's exactly what Steiner wanted to avoid. That's exactly what Jiddu Krishnamurti wanted to avoid. That's what the Buddha wanted to avoid. Steiner always said people don't understand him. They imitate him. They want to be like him. They want to soak up all of his energy and be as Steinerish as possible, right? But they completely miss the point by doing that. So he said they want to be like him, but they don't understand him. They have not understood anything that he said. It made him irritated. One time he was limping on a hike, and he said to his friend as they were coming back into town, he said, I better straighten up my limp now and not be limping when I come back into town, because then tomorrow the whole town is going to be limping. That is how much they were trying to imitate him and become like him. And maybe this was a bit of an exaggeration, but that is basically what it is. He was trying to make a point of what he was observing in people. This imitating. They see he has convictions. They see he is doing something right. They see that his artwork is radiating excellence and power. They see that he radiates power. They see that he is onto something. He's on a path of making the world better. But at the same time, they don't understand really what he's talking about. So when I talk to anthroposophists, I see that they have glued themselves again into a religion, you know. And also Rudolf Steiner made that one mistake that I'm sure he regrets, to bring that Christian religion, however Gnostic his version of it was or is, back into that philosophy. So that was a mistake. He should not have done that. Religion is not the right path. Okay. We need to free ourselves from religion and the idea of Jesus, who was just a person. I keep emphasizing this very subject. Jesus was just a regular human, okay, not a god. He wanted to make the world a better place, okay. You don't have to put someone on a pedestal for that. That person isn't automatically holy or a saint. He was not a saint. I would say sainthood, that begins when the soul has reached angel level. So that's when sainthood begins. So that's the same, it's interchangeable, sainthood and angelhood. So, but that has to do with soul development. You know, you have to have been through many, many, many lifetimes of animals and humans and other beings, extraterrestrials, okay, and other just beingness existences. So many different life forms. You could have been a tree for 1,000 years or 5,000 years. You know. So I think a lot of loggers are going to come back as trees, because learning in an existence is about looking at something from a very specific viewpoint, from a specific angle. Okay, it could be from any angle that you look at the situation, or that you experience a specific situation firsthand. Making a video, is that okay? You want me to put the pillows here and then walk? You know, I can always put the pillows here. Then you can walk by. Now you can walk by. See? Now nobody sees you. Oh, so he's not even known publicly. I don't know why he's doing this. So we're not known. We're just regular dorks in a house. So, but anyway, so people make a dualism out of things, out of anything, out of everything. I've seen people make a dualism out of Jiddu Krishnamurti and David Bohm, and they were one unit always, all the way through. There has never been any division. Why do they make a dualism out of? Then they make a dualism out of Jiddu Krishnamurti and Yuji Krishnamurti. Why do you make a dualism out of this? Why do you make two camps out of this? There's one woman, she doesn't even want to talk to me because I'm an admirer. I'm a student of Jiddu Krishnamurti. Why? Because she is a student of Yuji Krishnamurti, so she can't hang out with me. You know, this is childish and ridiculous. Really, 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 really ridiculous. So, it's just totally annoying. But this is what's happening, you know. This is what's happening worldwide. People are adhering to this or that group. They say, I hung out with Yuji. I said was Yuji. In parentheses, which she doesn't write, I can't talk to you, no, because you are with Jiddu. And Yuji made fun of Jiddu, so I can't talk to you because you like... This is kindergarten mentality, you know. Childishness. Okay. I also wanted to talk about the difference between childishness and childlikeness. Childlikeness is despised by those people who are childish. I hope that makes a lot of sense. So we need to become more childlike. That's what Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about. He said, in the beginning we are a camel. And I don't like that metaphor so much, but because then people think it's okay to put something on the back of a camel. It's not okay to put anything on the back of a camel, unless the camel is okay with a child or a dog or a cat sitting on her back. But animals should never be exploited. But he used this, of course, as a metaphor that was in the 1800s, before they have become super conscious about what the implications are of our wordings, metaphors and examples and stories and so on. Or video games, Video games have implications, just in case people didn't know that yet. Whatever you surround yourself with, whatever you play, whatever you watch, will shape the way you think, will desensitize you and put you into a war zone. Okay, Adam Lanza is a perfect example for that. That should be very loud and clear for the world. That violent video games make people crazy, particularly those people who already are trying to hide their emotions and are in a pressure cooker. So that's just, it's fuel in the fire. Okay, that's what it does. But anyway, Friedrich Nietzsche, what he was trying to say was this example of the camel. We start out being camels, we bear the load of society, we accept the burden of role distribution and religions and don'ts and do's and whatever society dictates to us. We carry it, without rebellion, and we're in a stupid state in that moment. Okay, so he says you need to shake off all of that load, and the eye of the blue god is becoming a heart now in the tree. This is beautiful. I see all of these formations. Beautiful. He's looking at me with the heart eye. Heart eyes. So cute. The blue god. So it's nice looking into the trees and seeing the sunset over the ocean. Really gorgeous. So we need to shake off this social dictation. Shake it off with a lion's roar. And we need to become a lion. Okay, so this is an intermediate state. Being a lion is being the rebel, being in that intermediate state of mental liberation process. It's a process. Okay, so we are shaking that off, all that religion. We're shaking, being an atheist, for example. That's an intermediate state. Okay, so obviously that is not the know-all, end-all of the story. Okay, there's a whole lot more than we can see with our eye. Okay, our knowledge doesn't end where our visual perception ends, of course. And I'll get into this later, probably. I hope I can get into this later. So there's a whole science connected to that So the metaphysics, the occult, the beyond. So the philosophy that goes beyond that, what we see and touch and perceive with our senses, of course. So, or measure with measure instruments. There's a whole lot more. There's infinitely much more. Okay, infinity. Okay. My husband says he's an atheist, but he accepts infinity. So he's already one step outside of atheism with that, because anyone who's in any kind of rigid mind school is fully in it, does not accept infinity or modern art. Modern art is infinity, and that's the state of childlikeness. So the atheist is the roaring lion. He has shaken off the burden of religion and society, and he's in a state of rebellion. And that's good. That is a very important, healthy, intermediate step to take. But then we move on. As we learn more and more and more, we see that things are much, much, much more complex than we can ever imagine. There are miracles in the world. There are truly miracles. And they don't come from religion. They're not in any way attached to religion. Religion has nothing to do with real miracles. So the real miracles come from the infinite cosmos. That what people would call God. But their idea of God is coming from their religion, which is an anthropomorphic ideology. It's a projection from them to that what they call God, and there is no such shape of a human face or any. It can take on any shape. It is amorphous. It's an amorphous, any shape becoming process. Okay, that's what the infinite cosmos is, and there's consciousness in it. Okay, absolutely. And this could be a computer simulation created by that, some form of computer simulation. So some form of toying around and creating and painting or sculpting. So, but it's not like there's a creator, because the creator always begins somewhere. There's no beginning and there is no end. It is a constant shaping and reshaping process. That's what it is. And that's good, and that's okay. And there's an end to certain stages. There's a new beginning coming. Okay? There are intermediate phases. Okay, the same with the mental liberation process. We go from camel to lion. So what is the last stage in this? The last stage is the childlike inner child. Okay, the play child. Jonathan Miese talks about this a lot. He's a great philosopher of current times. He lives in Berlin. He is half German and half English, half British. His father is British, his mother is German. Famous artist, among the top 100, I think, modern artists of today. And he is my generation. And he always talks about this process of metabolism, which is the body, but which is also the mind, and which is the painting and sculpting process as well. Modern art is a product of metabolism. It's metabolistic. Okay, it is infinite. It's a child play, and he emphasizes this. Okay, he says those are all his toys, and he puts toys also into his artwork. A lot of times, so some kind of a 3D collage and whole rooms that are becoming one big sculpture, like those dummy dolls in a prison, and he paints on them and he decorates them with certain things. And he says people walk by this prison, which is in an art exhibit, big art gallery. They walk by this prison with the dummy dolls and the teddy bears and all of, and they look at it with some kind of angry scorn. And he says there's not even the faintest hint of a smile in their faces. Like they're looking at it like, what is the monetary value of that? How high can I rank this? Where do we fit this in the art hierarchy? They come from this complete dualistic way of thinking. They come from the camel state. This is all camel state, and this is just a metaphor. Camels are not like, camels are very playful. They are in a childlike state, actually. The real camels, but he's using this as a metaphor, as, we take the load of society, and then we're lost in the way society thinks, with all of their hierarchical ladders and with their dualism, with their war fronts, with their me versus you, my religions versus the other, or we together against atheists, or whatever people are doing. People have made video games against atheism because that seemed to be the biggest threat of all to their belief systems. They can't just let someone be a playful child with their own worldview. No, they have to go in there with machine guns and ruin an artist's life or a child's life. Children are constantly violated in this way, brutalized out of their childlike, playful, infinitely mind-expanding mental states, traumatized into that hierarchical thinking of society. That is the camel state. We need to shake that off. If we want to heal this world that we live in, everything depends on it. Trust me, everything depends on it. The whole planet and beyond depends on this healing process. Okay, that's how important this is. You gotta shake that off, that religion, that Islam, this monstrosity of religiousness. This monstrosity of mind rape. Shake that off. You've been mind raped, okay? And then you rape women and you rape other people into your religion. You beat them into the religion. You behead them if they're not willing to adhere to your religion. That's a monstrosity of mental illness. Okay. That's the epitome of all cluster B personality disorders. Okay. That's the worst form of psychopathy. Okay. And religion puts that fuel into the fire, when people are already very unattuned to the point of insanity, of criminal insanity, then the religion is that bomb that parents throw onto their own children, mental bombs, ruining their lives, not just ruining their lives, but making them suffer real bad for a whole lifetime. Sometimes 80 years or more, suffering in this brain state of Islam. Can you imagine, with these rituals and this agony of it? Shake that off. Become a lion and say, I've had enough. I want to breathe. Okay? I want to stand on my own, straight. You don't have to tell everyone. In the Middle East, you get killed, obviously, if you do this. But do it for yourself. Do it privately. Shake that off. Don't do these religious prayer rituals anymore. They're violating you and your body. Okay. And then you violate other people in this process. And you perpetuate it. End that now. Okay. It ends with you. Okay. Truth is coming into the world now. Become that lion. Become that rebel, at least in your own head. Get the heck out of there as fast as possible. Okay, all of you women out there particularly. Take your animals and your children with you. Go to Russia. Go to the Eastern European countries. Flee away from the Mecca of Islam. And a lot of them are doing it, and they are helping others to get out. And I respect you from the bottom of my heart. You brave warriors who stand up against that. Brave, brave, brave. There were 2 boys that stood up against it openly, and they had their hands cut off. A woman from England rescued them, so gave them another lease on life. And they have never been on board with Islam, even though they were drilled into it. They lost their hands for their liberation process. So you can't just, obviously, if you want to keep your hands, if you want to keep your life, you can't. In the Middle East, you can't be outspoken. Only if you trust someone 100% you can talk about this. And there are some pockets of atheists out there, some roaring lions. But it's very dangerous. You got to get the heck out of there first. Then you can talk. Then you're free. Then you have that freedom of expression in other countries, in the Eastern European countries that all of those people grew up without religion, okay? And they value that very highly, most of them, okay? They know the importance of freedom, of thinking and expression and writing and viewing the world, okay, in their own ways. And people should have the right to believe anything they want to, as long as it is peaceful. They can share that with other people, or with they can read fairy tale stories to children, as long as these stories are peaceful and as long as they don't threaten the child again into a specific way of thinking. A child should be allowed to be completely free, to develop his own personality, his own way of thinking, to find his own path or her own path. Okay. In my life, it was the path of the artist, and my dad has supported that, so I was very lucky with that. That's really great. So there are other issues in my family. There's a lot of neurosis going on, but that's a different story. But this one part of allowing me to be an artist, okay, recognizing that I'm an artist. That's vital. That is very, very important. So I've never questioned my art, of course. I just go for it, you know. I go for it full force, like a child, like that inner child. And that's what art is. You're in that state of just total exploring. Look at Elita Andre. You know, she had the same upbringing as I had, and she's actually the reincarnation of Jackson Pollock. Elita Andre from Melbourne, Australia, teenage girl. She had started painting at age 2. I did too, actually. So, but my parents didn't. They didn't video record me like that. They didn't journal this as they did with Elita growing up in the technology age, of course. You know, it's much easier to be constantly filming and filming her art process, and those videos are on YouTube. They are highly ASMR, tingly, and amazing girl. It's just a natural continuation from the Jackson Pollock. It's just the parents didn't guide her in any way into anything. They just let her do it. And she just squirts the paint on there, and she puts figures on it, and it's, you can see that there's this exploring going on, you know. There's no fear of what anyone could say, or if this could be right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. You just do it. You just do it. You just go for it. If someone bullies you, ignore these people. Walk away. That has nothing to do with your art process. Okay? You go for it. Go for this mental exploration and freedom process. You can do anything. You get a cardboard box, which I do, and you paint it with acrylic paint. There's no right or wrong. You can put a stick figure on it. You can put a moon with the face. You can put a very childlike painting on it, like you painted when you were 3 years old. It doesn't matter. Just paint that box. And you will know once it's finished. Okay? Paint that box. And explore with the colors. Okay? You can paint anything. Anything that has to do with growing, expanding, with peace, with love, with flowers, flower power, loving animals, anything that is good, that is expansive. Okay? And then you put that box into the shelf somewhere in the kitchen and you see it, and that is your accomplishment. Okay? And if some dude comes and makes fun of you and says something nasty, then say, here, there's the door. You can leave. You don't have to be here. You don't have to look at me. You don't have to look at my artwork. Okay? Do that. Live by that. Free yourself. Okay? Very, very important. When you're in the Middle East or when you're in North Korea, when you're living in oppression, you can't just be this free and outspoken. You have to save your life. You have to save your family's life, your animals' lives. You have to be very careful how you tread. Okay? But you have to try to get out of there if that's possible. In North Korea, it's probably impossible to get out of there. And it's not just Kim Jong-un. If Kim Jong-un died, someone else would take his place and continue that oppression. Okay. I think his sister wanted to make the country better, very, very cautiously, very, very gradually. So he killed her. He was already dying. he somehow made it back. He killed her, and he had her killed, and he had his wife killed. And now he has a new girlfriend who is being oppressed by him and the whole country. It's just it's a never-ending, seemingly never-ending tyrant dictatorship. Horrific. So that's why we need AGI robots. They need to go there. They need to drone that man out of existence. They need to shoot him in the head, and they need to shoot anyone in the head who is an executioner and who caters to a dictatorship, to such a gruesome, violent dictator, to any violent dictatorship, whether that is this ideology or that ideology, this religion or that, an ideology, even if it is atheist in nature, can also be an ideology. It's also a dictatorship. It can be a dictatorship, as it is in North Korea. So, a communist promoting, it's not communism at all. Okay, so that's not communism. That's not what Karl Marx was talking about. Karl Marx tried to bring that idea of communism and socialism into the world as a rescue, as a rescue intervention, as an ideology of helping. He meant well. Okay, it doesn't work out. It becomes a rigid again. It's very rigid. It's very regimented. It's very, very unfree again. So freedom is complete freedom from any ideology, from any thought school. That's complete freedom. Okay. And that is the third stage. That is the child. That is what Friedrich Nietzsche said. The lion has to become a child. Okay. And then you are free. As long as you're still in rebellion and angry, you are also not free. That's just a liberation process, stage. Okay. Total freedom is also freedom from anger and reactiveness and angry, hard feelings and so on. That's total freedom, and that's what we're aiming at. And for that, we have to implement therapy centers around the whole world. And it is very, very important. And in these therapy centers, we practice radical honesty. And when we practice radical honesty, a lot of people, they don't even know. When I was a child or in my teens, I didn't even know what was up, down, right, left, true or false. In a complete fog. Everything was just a conundrum, like an enigma, a complete discombobulation mental state, like you don't know what's going on. You know that this or that doesn't feel so good. You don't know really why. You're dependent on a boyfriend. You're waiting for him to call. You may not even be able to know what your truth is when he calls. You don't even know how to call him out, literally, physically, and say, hey, I am not up for this mental game. And he plays a mental game out of his own confusion. So, and most adults are in those type of states. Okay, they don't even really know what is real and what is false. And we're bombarded with falseness on a daily basis. So people don't even know anymore. They think a video game is reality. They think Hollywood is like, that is the non-plus ultra of appearance or beauty or art or whatever. It's not. So you're presented with illusions, and most people don't realize it. You need to become aware about this. Start asking a lot of questions. Religions don't want people to ask questions, because when people start to ask questions, they will question themselves out of the religion. That's why the religions don't want you to ask questions. They also don't want modern art, because modern art questions the status quo, that what people have created, and that what is being drilled into society. Modern art is completely free. It leaps out of any kind of boundary. That's the childlike state, okay? That also questions anything, anyone, that says, why not? Okay? And that's very threatening to people's egos. Egos are the camel, the load-bearing ego being that carries the load of society, and the ego likes that. The ego lives through this. It has become its own perpetuation. It has become an entity on its own. Not in a physical sense. It is, a person is also their own ego, in that moment, of course, in that ego state, okay, because that ego, that's a very abstract thing, okay, so it's not a thing really, it's an abstraction. The ego is a mental state that identifies itself with society or religion or this nation or whatever, or status, or anything, clothes or car or dog. People use a dog as a status symbol. My grandfather did. That's all childish, so that's the camel that is on the other extreme of that spectrum. So that's the mentally ill state, okay, to be identifying oneself with a specific status, and then using even living being as such status symbols, like a Mercedes-Benz. The Great Dane is the Mercedes-Benz of the dogs. So, not good for the dog at all. The dog doesn't think like that. The dog is in a childlike state. The dog wants to play, wants to be free. Every animal wants to be free. Okay, every child, and you are too. You are inner child. Your body wants to be free too. But you have incorporated society's dictation, and that created that ego. Ego is really the stream of sorrow, that can affect someone like an illness. It's like a virus almost. Free yourself from that. Tell your ego you mean well, you want to protect me, but you can take a nap now. You can dissolve. Okay, that's all good. There's no fear in this. Okay, everything is good. We're dissolving the ego now, and we are going into the childlike state. And we are saying to society, why not? Okay, when they say you can't, why not? Why can't I do this? Okay, I know I can do it. Of course I can do it. I can do anything I want that is peaceful and that serves the greater good. Okay, and that's a childlike state, and that's the state we need to get into, and then we can make the world really amazing. And in those therapy centers, that's where we very gradually heal. That's where we start asking these questions. Why not? Or why? The why question. Yeah. Why is this or this or this or this? Some children are beaten for that question. That's a real violation. That is extreme trauma. Okay. I think the majority of humans on this planet are beaten into being silenced. Okay, so we can heal this trauma, we can turn this around. We can, first of all, allow all young people and children to, I will put the pillows on, we can allow all of them, go ahead, go, you can walk. Can allow all of them to ask the question why or why not, or why this or why that. Okay, let's look at it from another angle, to be playful, to be exploring, and allow ourselves to do that. Okay, allow ourselves to make artwork, to completely think outside of the box, of that what society has boxed you in. Open everything up and look at everything. All of those mental constructions that society is insisting on, whatever it is, whether this is a specific beauty ideal or a specific what you have to do in society, how you have to behave, how you have to dress, role distribution between men and women or children and adults. All of this has to become dissolved. Okay, so, and it is very gradually, it is, a lot of people are starting on this journey of healing, and that's wonderful, but the vast majority of humans are still in this state of, I want to be liked, don't want to lose my job, I don't, always this being in a bind, This binding process, this binding situation has to end. Okay, you have to end it. Okay, and even if that means you move into a van and you live free on your own, okay, that's a wonderful, wonderful healing and liberation process. Okay. A woman we knew, an environmentalist woman, died on Wednesday, and a friend of mine told me that today. And Paul said earlier, he kept on thinking about that woman, environmentalist woman. And he said that she has once said to him, whatever you want to do in your life, you got to do it now. You got to do it as soon as possible. Don't wait with it. So people wait, and she even waited. She even violated her own advice, which is so infinitely sad. Not in all regards, but in way too many ways. And that's also why she died. Okay, so she did not live healthy, and she lived under tremendous stress and didn't even know how to be honest to herself. And that's the worst stress factor there is. Okay, so if we can become radically honest to ourselves, that means I find out what I, Nicola, want. What do I want? Who do I want to be with? What do I want to do with my life? Okay, and be radically honest about this. And then go for it and do it before it's too late. Before you lived your life of 50 or 100 years with some kind of egoic defense mechanism that has made a prisoner out of you. Arjuna wrote a book, Prisoners of Pain. I recommend to people to read that book. I recommend to people to read all of his books, okay, because they really shed a light on the situation. I don't recommend primal therapy because it is lopsided. Okay, we need to also incorporate Tony Robbins. We need to also incorporate Thich Nhat Hanh. We need to incorporate S.N. Goenka and Jiddu Krishnamurti. We need to incorporate all of these aspects into therapy, into the real help center therapies that we must create. Okay, this is not a fad. This is not about grandstanding. This is not about I know more than others or something. No, I have suffered a lot. Trust me, I've suffered so much that I graduated with a degree of knowing what we need. Okay, so I know what humans and all beings need. We need freedom. Okay, and humans are not free, and in the process they imprison other living beings. They imprison birds and whales and horses. They are entrapped in their own mental illness, so they entrap horses who need to be wild. Okay, they breed cows out of control for their profit maximization, for their greed. They breed themselves out of control. They make a mess. They turn things into oppression and greed and presence. Okay, that is, if Joe Biden won, he would make a prison out of the United States. Okay, so I can just pray to the blue God, to the infinite cosmos, that Donald Trump wins again and makes everything into a paradise. Okay, and he will. And we need therapy centers worldwide where we can speak our minds, where we can ask questions, we can question everything, including ourselves, where we can finally heal and be that inner child, be that childlike inner child again, or for the first time. Okay, and be free and ask why not, and why this or why that. Let's try this, let's try that. Okay, in a peaceful way, peaceful for all living beings, beneficial for all living beings. Okay, and then things will become amazing. And then we will become more and more honest. We will know what's right or wrong. We will know about our own needs. We will find out. And then we can say it. We can speak it out to others. We can say, this is what I want. This is what I really want. And not this. Not that what society has told me to do. This is what I really want. I discovered myself. Okay? And we can be criticizing each other in constructive criticism, not be afraid. And we can also scream and pound against a padded wall and say it all, say everything that just urges from within, that wants to be expressed and said in those group therapy sessions. Okay? So then real healing can happen. Okay, you guys take care. Bye bye.